Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. I'm really looking forward to this one. Today's episode is brought to you by my partners, Alvaria and Quetzel. Thank you guys for allowing me to do this. So, I call this person Yoda because he has helped me so much, not just in business, but, and we may get to this, in running. A big reason that I stuck to the training and even started in the first place is because of this wonderful gentleman that is with me today, who is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. Amongst his many, many skills, he's been on before, but we had to get him on to talk about the book, the process of writing a book, what it's about, how it can help you, and just what an amazing human being he is. So, Lee Houghton, welcome, my friend.
Well, Mr. Teasdale, thank you so much for that introduction. It sounds very strange when you say author or best-selling author and then my name followed. But thank you so much. Just before we start talking about that, I just want to say that you are an absolute inspiration. What you did through the London Marathon, the amount you raised, documenting your journey, that was absolutely inspirational. I know we spoke a little bit before we hit the record today just about everything that you went through, but I think you doing what you do and how you do it so authentically is absolutely inspirational. So hats off. If I had a hat on, I would take it off to you, sir. But I don't, so I just have to say hats off to you, Mr. Teasdale. Very well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we were chatting about the marathon beforehand because Lee, like likewise, it's very reciprocal. His journey beforehand and listening to your podcast. I think I mentioned a couple of times in my training videos that was the inspiration behind doing it. You know, I think it becomes your personality, right? I think the family are very pleased that I'm not doing it anymore because that was all I ever talked about. Oh, you running
It's
a marathon? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It takes over your life. Like all of the free time. Like I look back now, probably like similar to yourself, and go, how on earth did I find that 4.5 hours, 5 hours on a ordinarily busy weekend to just go and run by myself? But yeah, it's a fascinating process.
Very much so. Yeah, there's I've stopped myself, but there's a lot of lessons that you would put on LinkedIn, but I don't want to be one of those guys.
Well, and I did. Join the club.
Now, I have a copy of the book here, uh, The People Puzzle, and as I said, it's been amazing, genuinely amazing. When you see a mate of yours going, he's #1 in the Amazon charts, and um, but I want to take you back, right back to the moment where you thought, I want to do it. Has this been you've had the germ of the idea for a long, long time, or was it that you wanted to write a book for a long, long time? And I know you've written others, um, but this one in particular, when did this first land in your brain?
So, I mean, great question. I think it's like about 2 years ago, um, I started to recognize people were saying, "How did you do that, Lee?" Or like, "How did we end up there from that's where we started?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just what I do." And they went, "Well, just tell us what you do." And so I started to try to tell people what I do and just about like the importance of people. So, got a business called Get Knowledge, and we help teams and leaders become better leaders and more high performing teams and things by really championing people in the improvement equation and this whole journey of like, what do you do, how do you do it, that's when I started to document it. And then on the pod I started to talk about some of these things weekly, and I was like, there's something in this. And really at a really high level, I want this book to help people, and they don't need me. They can just read the book and follow it. But it started as a leadership book. I started calling it. It was originally going to be called the Leadership Cheat Code, and cheat was an acronym because my brain works in a very strange way. In like I've got to create an acronym And then that mental model is something that sticks in my mind, and then I can share it and teach it. So the leadership cheat code, and I talk about this in the book, and it's communication, humility, engagement, accountability, and teamwork. I thought, oh, if I boil down leadership, it's all about those 5 things. And then as I started to write more and more, I was like, oh no, it's not about leaders. It's about their teams, and the output of a really amazing leader is the way that the people that they feel, the way that the people that they lead feel. So I can't make it a leadership cheat code. I've got to make it about the people that the leaders are supposed to be serving. So then I called it teams of people, because that's what it was. It's just about the interconnected, or the connectedness of all of the functions of people working together. And then I got a little bit of feedback on the book, and they said, well, you're quite quirky and a little bit unique. Teams of people's a bit boring. You've got to try to come up with something that's a little bit more Lee Houghton, is what they said. I was like, oh, all right. Put my brain back in and stuff, and batted a few ideas around, and I got the people puzzle. And the thing that really connected was when I was chatting to a guy called Dave Bovis, and he said, and like through some conversation we had, that high performance isn't forced, it's felt. And that's the thing that really struck. So the strapline is building a team piece by piece, which relates to the puzzle part of it, because high performance isn't forced, it's felt. And that's the whole thing behind the book. It's about the feelings. Piece 3, I've called it feelings, and it is all about the feelings of the people that you are leading. And I guess so. If I go back 2 years, that's where it all started. I've had a number of different iterations. I've sent a number of different versions to different people like yourself, and had some amazing, constructive, respectful feedback. Because what I found at the start is, like, people were just going, "Oh yeah, it's brilliant, it's really, really good," and I didn't want that. I wanted people to tell me what they didn't like, what didn't work, and yeah, so it's about 2 years. It's not perfect though either. Um, it's still a work in progress. So I still open the manuscript and just make the odd little tweak to it, and then re-upload it, because it's not perfect, and I'll have different thoughts about some of the things. I want it to be a living, breathing document about my approach, but I want it to just help people. And I guess there's loads in it, and I think I might have put too much in it. But I tried to put everything in it, and because I want it to be like the one book, and everybody has got a different starting place. I will pause for a breath in a minute, I promise. Everybody has got a different starting place, and I don't know where you're starting from, where the next person's starting from, where the next person's starting from. So I needed to put everything into it, because I want them to resonate or relate with a little bit of it, and a little bit of it might help them. And that's just what I want it to do. I just want it to help people. So it's not a a typical book. It's a coaching manual, a reflective, safe space. So I'll write a little bit, or I've written a little bit, and then I've written a question, and then I've left a blank space for them to write the answer to the question. Then I've written a little bit more, and then left a question. And I want people to really work the book and just explore the thoughts that my narrative creates fundamentally. So about 2 years ago, it's a work in progress, and still a work in progress.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I should have just said that, shouldn't I?
No, that was great. Because what I love is um, the puzzle part works really well. When when you said then about where people are, where they start. Well, it also applies. I read this and thought it applies with the whether you are in a team or leading a team, you are a puzzle. Some of us have some bits completed, others don't. And that's where I think it works really, really well. Because to your point, not only are we all starting from a different place, but whether we are experienced or inexperienced, we have our puzzles are made up differently. So my strengths can be areas you need to improve on. Your strengths can be areas I need to improve on. And the way that the book flows takes you through that. I think really it's perfect. It's certainly perfect for like you've been good enough to give a copy for me to give away in the team leader community. and I think it's massively going to help people. But it doesn't. You don't need to be just a team leader. You could be a C-level leader as well. When you say, did you? Was this a case of, in terms of actually putting pen to paper? Did you have some of the material and it was about putting it together like a puzzle, or was there, I've got it all, but I'm gonna still put it down fresh?
So this is where the podcast really helped me, because I've been doing that weekly. I went through a load of episodes and I transcribed the episodes, and then I rewrote, I like reordered them, put them in different places. Like, so there's one podcast episode, I think it's called something like "People Are Not Like Pasta," and I remember like cooking a meal for the family, a pasta based dish for the family, and put my fork in the pasta and tasted it. I was like, oh, that's not quite cooked yet, and then waited a few more minutes or whatever and tried it again, and then ate it. And then when you eat pasta, you, as soon as you try a bit that's cooked, you then assume that the rest of the pot is cooked. But people are not like that, because every person is built differently. They've got different experiences, different educations, different upbringings, different thoughts that stimulated by different things. And so that people are not like pasta, I think, was one of the early things that really stuck. So the process was having a look through the podcast, and I've got like notes on my phone. I've got notes in books, and I just started to piece the pages together. And some of the early feedback of the book was like, there's loads in it. There's no real beginning, middle, and end, because it was just like how my brain works. It was just like everything in it together. And then I had to get some structure. I needed a beginning, I needed a middle, and I needed an end. And that's where the 4 puzzle pieces came from. So the 4 puzzle pieces came naturally from all of the content that I put there. I didn't start the book with the 4 puzzle pieces. I ended the whole process by putting it all together into the 4 puzzle pieces, which was a huge, I guess, reflective moment for me. So the first puzzle piece is all about alignment of language, alignment of ourselves. And I talk about a few different things that we need to align on together. The next one is around relationships, and it's about how humans build relationships outside of work, and the 4 C's, and how we can bring that into work. So connect, converse, collaborate, and celebrate. And because typically in work, we start with the collaborate one. We want everybody to work together, but we don't give them the space to connect and converse first, and to develop the relationship so they can collaborate in a safe way. So that's the second piece. The third piece is about feelings. And when I was looking at the feelings one, I came up with another acronym. So I apologise a
Picture.
number of times. Yeah, that's such shock horror. I apologise a number of times for the book, for the number of acronyms that I've started with. So I came up with Beacon. So I looked at Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I looked at Maslow, as I was piecing it together, I was like, okay, so there's a level of belonging. I'm a big advocate of, we need to engage the heads, the hearts, and the hands. So because everybody's different, and one of the things that I think, when people say to me, how did you do that? It's based on the back of an observation that I've made about somebody's heads, hearts, and hands, which I'll talk about in a second. So this feelings thing, the beacon model, is belonging, engagement, alignment, communication, ownership, and nurturing growth. And I think those are the 6 factors that if people feel a sense of belonging, if people feel engaged, if people feel communicated to and heard, if people feel aligned, I've done it in the wrong order, if people feel a sense of ownership towards their task, and if people feel like they're invested in and to grow, then that's high performance, or that's the inputs to high performance. If you can create an environment where people feel those 6 things, where people feel beacon, then the outputs will follow. And then the 4th one is where this book all started from. The 4th piece is all about leadership, and it's about, I guess, humble leadership. It's about how we ask questions. It's about managing things, leading people, and coaching the gaps. And this is where I talk about all of these things. And one of the questions that I've had since writing the book is about, do you have to do puzzle piece 1, 2, 3, and then 4? And I'm like, no, no, no. They're interconnected. They're not independent, because the way that so if you're going to align a team on maybe a vision, then you need to connect with them as humans. You need to talk with them, converse with them, and collaborate and co-create it. So that's piece 1 and piece 2 together. Then you've got to make sure that they feel aligned and a sense of belonging to which is then piece 3. It's the feelings of it. And to do that, you've got to be a leader that is not imposing your way. So it's all 4 pieces together at all times. And that's really, although it's 4 separate pieces, I've done it that way so we can digest it and understand it. But how we deliver it, it has to be done with all 4 pieces in our minds. So yeah, I've forgotten what the original question was. I've kind of riffed there.
Oh no, I love it because it's so interesting. I think any of us that have spent our careers or are right now working with other people, right?
Mm.
All of this applies, and I think a lot of us have got to have done well at it, and have got to, maybe they've progressed, and that can be through in terms of titles or success with projects or improvements. And but for a lot, and I include myself in this, it was trial and error, right? It was bumbling your way through and going, right, I'm not going to do that again because that didn't work. And so to have something like this book, I think will help so many people, because it will give them the framework. And again, that puzzle analogy is a great one, because most people start jigsaw puzzles in different ways, right? Some people start with the
Absolutely.
edges. I just tend to throw them in, see which ones fit, and build outwards. And we're all different. And that, I think we can all, you evidence through this and just who you are and how you show up, a love of people and people working together to achieve great things. And that really comes across in the book. How long did it take you to? You mentioned earlier you see it as a work in progress, and so this question might be difficult because in your mind you're thinking, well, it's not finished. But in terms of being able to finish and get it in a physical format, how long did it take?
Well, so I guess, I mean, 2 years is what from the idea through to publishing. But when it got serious, it was probably July, August last year is when it got serious, and it was like properly transcribing the podcast, getting it down into paper. And then the beginning of this year, I doubled down on it. And like the as soon as because it's self-published, and Amazon make it really easy to self-publish now, which is amazing. So anybody, and I was talking to Chris at the forum last week when I went to see him. He was like, "Oh, I wanted to write a book." I was like, "Just start, just start. Put a pen on paper and just start the process." And it's very much like your marathon training. It's You go out and do a 2K run, and then day after you do a 3K run, but then you've got to find the time. And so I've been fortunate that I've been able to carve out the time, find the time to write it, um, and then publish it. And when I set a date to get it out there, the manuscript wasn't up with Amazon at that point. But I was like, I need to just get it out now, because every single time I read a page, I'm changing the odd word, and this isn't good for me, and it's not good for the book. And so I just need to get it out there, get some more feedback, and then iterate it at a point in time. So for version 2. So yeah, the process 2 years, but really from July started, and then from maybe January this year, for the last 5 months have been really, really revising it, getting the feedback from it, and getting it to a state where I was happy enough to get it out there. And that was I remember being on a call where some people I really, really trust, that I talk about in the book my best mate, which we spoke about in the past, and losing Chris in 2018. And the original version of the book had Chris's story front and center because that's what anchors me and Chris's 3 lessons and all of that stuff. And I got this feedback from Steve, and he was like, you need to get to the story far quicker. You need to get to the crux of it far quicker. And he says, you need to kill your baby. And I was like, that got me. I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that I think everything else hangs off, but it only hangs off in my head. It doesn't hang off for people that don't know me. That's a really like strong start for something. So Chris's story is still in it. It's like right at the very end where I'm kind of like connecting all the dots and bringing it all together to try to inspire action in others. But at the start, it was right at the very beginning. Which was I've had to just become comfortable killing me baby because it's 33,000 words, and all of the things that I talk about all of the time, and so I'm well attached to it. But to give it out to others, to get critiqued, and then I've had to become comfortable. So that's been a whole learning process for myself as well. So yeah, it's a fascinating process. Slight digression for you, Mr. Teasdale, because in my previous really long answer, I mentioned about the beacon framework and about an engagement and the fact that I'm a big advocate of engaging heads, hearts, and hands. And the reason why I think this is really important is because this is the thing that I've become quite, I guess, perceptive of, if that's the right word, in different sessions and different environment when I'm speaking to people and when I'm talking to people in different environments. So engaged heads, because we are people, we engage the heads, the hearts, and the hands. And some people are engaged in the heads a lot easier, so they're quite logic driven. They need to understand the data that sits behind it, that underpins it, and they need the reasoning. Some people are engaged emotionally. You're quite an emotional, and you'll use the words and phrase like "I feel" quite a lot. You'll start some of your sentences because that's where you're engaged. And some people are engaged with the hands and the action and the doing. And so when I'm working a room and I'm going around, I'm listening to the words that people are saying. So they might start a sentence, "I feel." They might start a sentence, "I think," or they might start a sentence like, "I'm going to go and do," or like, I did this. And then that's a little trigger, a little cue into whether they are engaged with the heads, the hearts, and the hands. And so what I'm talking about is not new, because like Aristotle, this is going back quite a bit now, isn't it? He had 3 key components of communication, and they were logos. I mean, I'm saying these in a Charlie accent. I might not be saying them right. Logos, ethos, and pathos. It sounds like the 4. Do you remember the 4 Musketeers or 3
Yeah,
Musketeers? Yeah, so I always think of that. In fact, actually, like D'Artagnan or Dogtagnan. Do you remember both of them?
I do remember both. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dogtagnan was
yeah.
great
Yeah,
cartoon.
yeah, I really, yeah, I do. Anyway, so yeah, when I say logos, ethos, and pathos, when Aristotle was saying these things about the 3 key components of communication, so logos is logic, which is about engaging the head. Ethos is around the trustworthiness, the credibility, and all of that, which comes from your actions and what you do and how you are, which is about engagement of the hands. And then pathos is about emotions and connection, which is about engagement of the heart. And so we've just, that's what this book is all about.
Mm,
I'll ask questions to engage the head, to engage the heart, or to engage the hands. In everything I do, it's about working out how you are engaged and then trying to inspire action through your engagement. And yeah, so yeah, there's a little slight digression, but it's born and built from Aristotle, from like Simon Sinek as well, when he's done like Start With Why. So why is about connection, it's about engaging the heart. That the how is about the hands, engagement of the hands in kind of like what and in how we do what we do. And then the what is engagement of the brain. What are we going to do? So it's about all of this stuff that I'm talking about is is framed by different people in different ways because they recognise that every person is different. So yeah, quite a bit
I,
in that one. Sorry.
I'm sure people listening, because as you were talking then, you can't help but, if you've ever had a leadership position, you can't help but think about your own experiences viewed through the lens that you've just shared, right? So that kind of, especially initially, I was very much heart driven with, we're going to do this and it's going to be great. Let's go. And wonder why not all of the team came with me. And
Yeah.
when you start to realize, you need to understand your team. Some of them didn't come with me when I was coming out the trenches and charging. Uh, it's because they needed the logic of it, right? What are we doing? What are the milestones? What's the purpose? How will we know whether we've done a good result? What training might I need to get there? The ones that were built more like me were like, we don't care about that kind of stuff. This sounds great. Let's go. Um, and then you've got the hands, which was, can we role play? Can we really get under the? Can we practice? Can we, so, and when you realize that your team is made up of these very different individuals who respond differently, it changes everything, doesn't it? It changes your communication, changes you as a leader. Uh, and before that bit, I really, really loved hearing about the process you went through, your own enlightenment around something that is so personal to you, and hearing feedback about, well, actually, you're not writing the book for you, because for you this structure and where things are placed makes perfect sense, but as a reader who doesn't know you, which most of them will be, right? um you know, that you haven't just got your friends and family to buy 1,000 copies. These are people discovering Lee Houghton for the first time, right? Lucky them. But they're gonna, your friend Steve giving you that feedback and the impact it had on you, I think is really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. And it did make me think. The other day in the team leader community, someone said, "How do I do a post?" And I was thinking, is this a real question? I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. I just, it's, I can't believe you're asking. And then I had to check myself and go, wait a minute. It's a great question, because it's telling you that there is still a percentage of people that don't know. It's blindingly obvious to me because I live in the team leader community. But for someone, that person is new, just wants to make sure, and it's, those kind of things. It must have been a very a really, really interesting process writing it and then going out and getting feedback about, your that's you in book
Yeah.
form.
Yeah. It was it was frightening. Like when I started it, I think I mentioned earlier on, like a lot of the feedback was really, really positive. And so then I started to become a little bit more um, tailored or selective with who, and and I was a little bit clearer in what I wanted from people. So I
Mm,
gave them permission to just really tell me how it is, and from them and their perspective. And when Steve said, um, and he did it really respectfully, like I know how much that story means to you, but actually you need to get into the book a lot quicker for the reader. You don't want to lose them too early. It might be too much for some people to start off with. That got me, and it took me a few days to process it, to understand what he was really saying. But then there was other people that said, "Oh, the start of that book was like really, really powerful. It made me want to just read on." But they were the ones that I've got. I guess I've got the emotional connection to the story because I've shared it with them before, and so they're relating that to everything else. And so I had to balance out somebody who didn't know me versus somebody who's got knows the story already and they know everything that sits behind it, and how important it is to me. I just thought that was a really personal stories to start with. Yeah, it was tough to hear, but then it was the right thing to hear, and so I'm just like so grateful of him saying and sharing that, because it needed to be moved, and I'm at peace with that. When we deliver change and leadership stuff, we encourage leaders, and I talk about this in this little book as well, that people protect what they build. And that was real evidence of me going through that process of of protecting what I've built, the pages that I've built by myself, and go and like pushing, resisting the feedback, going, oh no, it's a real strong opener. And it, like I say, it took me a couple of days to really process, to be comfortable to go, actually, yes, Steve was right, because the book's not for me. It's not my diary. It's to try to help as many people as I can.
I'd read your diary though.
It's just all about you, Martin. I
Maybe
wonder what Martin's doing today. Spoke
running
to
probably.
Martin. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not posted yet. Is he okay?
Yeah, I had a day off yesterday.
Yeah.
Did feel a bit weird. Was that, talking to habits? Were you doing this every day then?
Thinking about it every day, yes. Writing, not. Because what I worked out as well, again, it's like sometimes when you can go for a run, sometimes the runs feel really good, and sometimes they're like an absolute chore, legs really heavy, and you just can't get moving. The whole writing process was the same. Sometimes I could sit down and write 2,000 words or speak 2,000 words, because what I found is a process that I was really comfortable with, and that was like recording like this and then transcribing it. Um, because the first like version of it, I don't like the way I write. It's very mechanical. It's not like it doesn't sound like me. And so people gave me feedback going, did you actually write that? I was like, yeah, I did. But that's how I write. So then I had to flip it from writing to speaking, and then back to writing again. And I can just tweak it. Um, so yeah, it's been a whole process, not written every day, but thought about it every day, and tweaked it when I felt inspired or compelled to write something. I'd be like driving down the road, I'd listen to something. So there's what I've been quite keen to do is reference the different material or books that I've read, so or different things and models that I wanted to include. So like Maslow, Lencioni, and then quite ironically, there was when I launched the book in the category that I was in, there was a book by a guy called Charles Duhigg, called Super Communicators. And when I published the book, he was at number one, and then I became number one. But I referenced Super Communicators in the book, and I was listening to it, and there was a bit in there that like was just really, really powerful. And again, it was three things. Aligns with Aristotle's three things. He says in every single conversation, you have an intent when you go into that conversation, and everybody else has an intent when they go into that conversation, and it's either to be heard, to be hugged, or to be helped. And and you've got to align on intent. And as soon as I thought that really, really resonated with me, because I get into a number of conversations. My natural default is to ask questions to try to coach people through every single situation. In this house, it doesn't work very well, because other people who live in the house just want to be heard. They just want somebody to listen to them. But they might like have come home from work or whatever, had a day, and just starting to unpack their day, and I'll try to coach or help the situation. And the feedback I get is, you're just not listening to me. And because they want to be heard and I wanted to help. So I've had to, so I put that into the book, because that was a real important thing in all of this relationship building and communication, is that everybody, when they turn up, they will have an intent, and you've got to align your intent. So if you're a leader, you might want to be heard, or if somebody knocks on your door, if you've still got an office door, and they're coming into there to either be heard, to be hugged, or to be helped. And when they're talking, you're trying to process. But if you've just got a default and you just try to help them, you might not actually be giving them what you want. So yeah. So I wanted to to reference stuff that I'd read that sparked thoughts and things. So yeah, because everybody's learning, aren't we? We're always learning. We're always listening to stuff. We're always creating stuff, thinking things, and yeah, I just wanted to document all of those things as well.
I got a great coaching tip. I can't remember who it was from, but it was a long time ago. Excuse me. And that was, some to your point, you if you can get your team comfortable knowing that you're going to say to them, do you I'm going to listen, but do you want help at the end? Do you want me to come up with some ideas at the end of it, or do you just want me to listen? I think it makes it so much better for both people, because too often, if you're action and solution orientated, I'd be listening to people talk about problems that they had, and in my head I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to suggest X, Y, and Z. And what that did, it turned a nice moment, a nice shared moment, into that other person becoming annoyed, right? Because they're like, well, I've tried that. I'm not going to do that. Well, you're not listening. This person is never going to respond to that. Whereas I'm going, oh, I'm going to hit them with three great ideas and I'm going to help solve the problem. But if you preface it all with, do you just want me to listen, or do you want me to listen and have a few thoughts about steps you can take, changes the whole dynamic for the better. And it's, that's why I think the book is so great, that, as you said, it is a workbook. So you're learning, you're given the opportunity to reflect on what you've learned, but also think about how you might try things out as well.
Yeah. So safe spaces are really important to me, and that's what I wanted to create. Is so like a lot of leaders, they'll be put into a leadership position because they are the best widget producer, best call handler, best quality output, um, and they might not be supported to be an effective leader. And we need to provide safe spaces for people to just become comfortable with their thoughts, whether that's as a team or as a leader. And I want this book to be just a safe space for people to be able to reflect on the question, think about the thoughts that it creates, and just understand what that means to them from where they are. It might mean nothing. It might mean something. And if it means something, if it means something enough, then you might take action off the back of it. Because like loads of people talk about psychological safety, and it's a buzz phrase, but how we create psychological safety is dependent upon each individual person, and it's about and this is why puzzle piece 4 is about leadership, because you might have to be real, you might have to go first, you might have to be vulnerable first, you might have to share something before anybody else does, but you've also got to be the one that creates the space. A lot of feedback that I give teams when I'm working with them is all of the spaces that they create are just to talk about the process, the performance, and the things, but they're not to talk about how we connect and building a team, and what we can do to work on our team, on each other, to help each other get better. So yeah, and in it as well. Spoke about engaging the heads, the hearts, and the hands, and I'm a big advocate of. So when I lead teams, I encourage like 1 hour a week to reflect as a team, but reflect in a way that gives, whether you're a head, a heart, or a hands person, a question. And so I'll ask every single week. We'll have an hour that's blocked out, and we'll sit around the table and go, right, okay, well, like for the next few minutes, I just want you to think about these 3 questions. And in the book, I'll leave a space for you to do it as well. And it's like, what have you learned this week that's been significant? What have you done this week that's been significant? How have you felt this week that's been significant? Or what's your emotional journey been this week? So you're getting to tap into the heads, the hearts, and the hands. And different people have a bias for each of them, as we've discussed. But you're getting them to become more comfortable thinking or expressing the feelings, which isn't easy. And when you do this over a period of time, the depth of connection of the team grows, because they understand, like what each person's finding significant, what they're struggling with, what's going well for them. But then they're also going deep and becoming more and more familiar with each other. So they'll just at this first few weeks they'll start just surface level things, and then as that grows, the connection grows, and they'll go deeper. So we just need to, because we are humans, and we want to connect with each other. We need to belong. To create that belonging, you've got to create the spaces, and in those spaces, you've got to make sure they're safe, but ask the right questions to develop the feelings. And that's how all of these four pieces just blend together. So they're separate, but they are together. But yeah, it's all about safe spaces and reflection.
You talked about this it's still gonna be evolving, and it's this is version one, and there's going to be version two, and it's going to keep growing. But have you given yourself the time and the kudos to be proud of what you've created and what it's already achieved?
No, I've not, which I absolutely. So it's funny you asked that question. Yeah, so it's no, I haven't. But what I have done is I've created a workshop that pulls together all four pieces, depending upon the size of team. So, like, there's an alignment session, there's a relationship session, a feeling session, a leadership session, but kind of like interwoven. Um, and so when I talk about it developing, and I want to use the outputs from that session to then refine version two of the bit, because then there'll be more and more people that I'm introducing to the four pieces of the puzzle. I'll have different case studies, examples, conversations, deeper learning about the things that I'm talking about. And so that's how I want it to. I want to double down on the things that are in here. I don't want a fifth puzzle piece and a sixth puzzle piece and a seventh puzzle piece. That's not how I want to iterate it. I want to double down on alignments, double down on relationships, double down on feelings, double down on leadership through workshops. I'm going to create a business novel that is a fictional story that I've taken a leader and somebody supporting the leader through the process. So those things. But to answer your actual question, I haven't stopped. Like, when I put it out there, do you know when you message a girl for the first time, and or a boy for the first time, and you're waiting for that reply to come back, and you're checking your phone every 5 seconds? I was like that when I was refreshing the charts on Amazon, like going, have I moved? Have I moved? Have I moved? And when it hit number four, I was like overwhelmed. Like, I've never. I was like a flood of emotion and just gratitude, and it was just the most positive. Like, when you're running around the streets of London, and people are chanting your name, and you're surrounded by all of those people running for charities, doing amazing things, and you just got that overwhelming feel of gratitude and emotion. When I hit number four, I was like, "Oh my God, this is actually real." I'm at number four in the charts, and then it went up to number two, and I was like, it couldn't. And I think I put a post out going, like, it couldn't, could it? Because I
Yeah,
actually said that.
yeah.
I said that out loud. Like, it couldn't get to number one, could it? And so when I was riding that journey, that was when I was just uh, letting the feelings flow over me. Um, I think the next time I will really think about is if I get any feedback on the impact that it's had. That's I think that's the time to reflect on it. If it's actually helped people, and people tell me that it's helped them, um, not that they've just enjoyed it, but they've been able to become more comfortable leading, or it helped them with the team, or whatever. That's the time that I'll reflect, because then it's made a difference. At the minute, it's been a positive, lovely, warm experience. Um, but until it's helped anybody, it's not served its purpose. And I think that's the time I need to and will reflect on it, because then it's done what I've wanted it to do.
I think we started talking today using the word inspiring, and I jokingly call you Yoda, um, but it's true, right? You are an inspiring human being, and I think when if people were to ask me why do you say Lee is so inspiring, the easiest way for me to answer that now is to say go and read this. Go and read this because it's such a true reflection of who you are: helpful, entertaining, insightful, interesting, authentic. It's great. I do get sent quite a lot of books. Um, this one I've read it cover to cover, and I think this is great. Honestly, it is great. Now that's probably I was probably one of the group that was discounted quite early 'cause my feedback is this is great. I love it. Um, but if like I say, if someone asks me why does Lee mean so much to you and why is he so inspiring, I'd say, well, just go and read this. Go and read the People
Okay.
Puzzle, and you'll. That's just the tip of the iceberg as well. There's many. You're like an onion, many many layers, many
Oh,
layers to you. Stand up comedy, ultra marathon runner. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I can't wait to see. I think the workshops is a great idea, absolutely great idea. Um, and there's an audio book. Is it you talking?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Great.
So it is available now. The audiobook. I've not told very many people that it's available now because some of the audio, it didn't produce as good as I've wanted. But it's there, and it's the second version of the audio. So I'm gonna I've listened to it now. I've listened to myself talking. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I've listened to it twice. Now I've listened to the first copy, then I re-recorded 9 chapters, and today I'm going to listen to it again, cover to cover, and then I'll re-record some other chapters. But that just makes the audio better. Um,
And
and
then
what
you'll
I'm
have a
finding,
period of not talking for a week.
yeah, yeah. But what I'm finding is when I'm re-recording the chapters, I'm adding a couple of ad libs in it. When I recorded it the first time, there was no ad libs, so you'll get if yeah, if I'm fortunate enough that you'll listen to the audio book. I start it now by going the audio book, this the people puzzle, building a team piece by piece, because high performance isn't forced, it's felt. Written by Lee Houghton, narrated by Lee Houghton, and I might say words like book, Luke, took, and kook. They might not seem familiar to you because you say book, look, tuck, and cook. But please don't let that detract from the lessons or something like that. So I'm playing with the words a little bit because I'm becoming more comfortable and more familiar with it. Um, and yeah, so I'm becoming more relaxed with it as well. So the more chapters that I read again and read out, I will probably add a little bits more into it as well. Because like this conversation today has helped me really become clear on some of the things. Like in the book, it doesn't mention Aristotle. It was only this morning when I was thinking about like like where it's all been born from and stuff and what the things that I've learned and things. I was like, oh right, yeah. Aristotle never made it to the book. Maybe he should have done, but we've shared it here. So like that's what I mean about just taking it deeper and going into it. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
well, how
thank you for
often do
that,
you think
man.
about Aristotle in the morning? It's like, how often
Mm.
do you think about the Roman Empire? Every day.
Yeah, yeah, not as often as I think about you, Martin. I think that's fair to say.
Well, look, I can't wait to see what you do next. I know it's going to be amazing with this, but we have to just, and I hope this has done it justice, but we have to take a moment to applaud you and say there's no one more deserving of an Amazon #1 and the success because you help so many people and you do it without thought about yourself. That was quite hard to get you to reflect on. You've done something you should be really proud of, because it's going to
Thank you.
help a lot of people. And you're just a lovely guy, mate. So I've
Oh,
really enjoyed this.
No, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, any opportunity to chat to you, recorded or not, I'll grab at every opportunity. So honestly, thank you for you being you, Martin. Thank you for you.
Straight back at you. And thanks everyone for listening. Go out and buy the book.